Good morning. This weekend, we're going to take a look at the story of Noah. And Noah's is a story of faithfulness and patience. And I think that all of us can look at the story of Noah and identify with at least one part of it. But the part that's hard for me is reconciling with how much patience it would have taken between this direction that God gives him and the fulfillment of what God says it's going to happen. And that long period between the start and the resolution and the conflict that would have been in between. In Genesis 6, starting in verse 11, it says, "Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I've determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it with pitch. And this is how you're to make it." And then he goes on and he gives detailed instructions of how to do what he's going to do. And so Noah goes and he does what God says. It's easy on this side of the story to know that the flood happened and to know that this was something that was going to happen. And we read these sentences and it says certain numbers of years happened, and we get to read that in the course of just a few seconds. But for Noah, it was years and years of painstaking labor before this thing was going to happen. And he continued to walk in obedience and faithfulness and patience and trust, believing God. And for each of us, I think that we can all take a page out of Noah's book when in needing to believe God a little bit more. Not negotiating with him, not hurrying him, not making our will bigger than his, but believing him and trusting him. You see, on this side of Jesus' arrival on earth, we get grace upon grace. We get a new start every day. We get made new creations. But we still have to have that faith and that trust and that patience. And we have to live in the tension between what is now and what is not yet. Because we believe that there's a kingdom coming where all sin and destruction and death and sickness is put to an end. But it's not yet. And a lot of times we can look at things in the world, and believers throughout history have been able to look at things throughout the world and say that this is the moment that it all has to come to an end because of the destruction and the sin and the brokenness is so bad. But it's because we're living in that tension. And so the question becomes, what do we do with our lives today that helps us walk faithfully, that helps us to be God's ambassadors? How do we help our neighbor? How do we serve people right around us? How do we make Jesus known in our daily lives? And so as we continue to walk in this world, may we continue to believe God, be faithful, and walk with patience and trust, knowing that God's going to do what he promised he would do. And that there's a day coming in eternity when all sin, death, destruction, and pain is put to an end. Can we together believe God? I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.